David is a lot like you and I, Sabrina. He made a lot of big mistakes and was someone who committed adultery and went on to kill the guy. He went out of his way to cover up his sin. And so begins the story of Jonathan Hearn, a man who had an affair with a married woman and went on to kill her husband. And as Jonathan says in this quote to Sabrina Limon, he went out of his way to cover up his sin. They both went out of their way to cover up what they had done. They both planned to kill Robert Limon, who was the husband of Sabrina Limon. And I think what happened was that Sabrina Limon was very unhappy in her marriage, and she saw Jonathan as a way out. There's some articles about the story that go into depth about what happened. Essentially, Jonathan and Sabrina met when Jonathan was in his early 20s. Sabrina was about a decade older than him, and she was married to Robert Limon. So the Limons had an open relationship, or rather they were part of the swingers community, which is where couples have sex with other couples. It depends on the individuals within the relationship what the specific rules are, but from what I understand, it's when couples have sex with other couples. I'm not sure how Jonathan and Sabrina met. It might have been at a swingers club, it might have been outside of that, but they met. And either they had a relationship and Robert knew about it, or they kind of developed a relationship without Robert's knowledge. But Robert didn't want Sabrina seeing Jonathan at all. He told them to stop contact. And of course they didn't do that. And so they started plotting and planning of how to keep their relationship without upsetting Robert. At one point, Sabrina told Jonathan that she didn't think Robert would ever recover from her leaving him. She felt like it would just devastate him, so she couldn't leave him. She couldn't leave her husband. And so that posed a problem. They came to the conclusion that they had to kill Robert. It was the only way. Robert would be devastated if she left him, so they had to kill him. Now, their first plan was to poison Robert. Sabrina made this banana pudding laced with arsenic, but in the end, they decided to get rid of it. They had second thoughts about the plan and they just couldn't go through with it. So the next plan was for Jonathan to kill Robert. And that's what ended up happening. Jonathan went to Robert's workplace at a railroad station and shot him. The Sabrina Limon trial happened in the fall of 2017, and this is when I really became aware of this case, and it was all the newspaper talked about. I mean, it was publicized very heavily. So Jonathan testified against Sabrina Limon in the fall of 2017, and he admitted to his crimes. He admitted to everything. It almost felt like he needed to get all this stuff off his chest. He wanted to go to prison as a redeemed man. And he often made comparisons between himself and King David, and he referenced the story of King David to his own story of falling in love with Sabrina Limon, having an affair with her, and then killing her husband. And the story of King David from the Bible is quite similar. King David fell in love for Bathsheba, the wife of one of his most devout soldiers, and then they had an affair, and then she got pregnant. So David sent her husband away to war, knowing that it would kill him, and then married her after that. There's these Bible verses that Jonathan Hearn quotes a lot during the trial, Psalm 51 and Psalm 38. And they're basically when David is praying to God, asking for forgiveness and just repenting for his sin. He feels a lot of guilt and a lot of remorse, and he just needs to express that and ask for God to forgive him. So there is a lot of parallels that Jonathan sees between himself and King David, and he feels there is hope for him if he repents and comes clean and admits to his sin and pays the price. Then Jonathan, I remember in one of the trials, on the last day of trial, he talks about how there is no punishment that is severe enough for what he did, and he starts apologizing to everyone for the sin of his crimes. And so this court case, Sabrina Limon's trial and Jonathan Hearn's testimony against her, really is really the backbone for the song Jonathan. It's a very interesting court case, and it's something that happened locally. It's something that happened where I grew up. Hopefully it provides some context behind the story. There was just a lot that went on. There was a lot of details in the story. And I just wanted to kind of provide this story. I just wanted to kind of tell the story so that people who've heard Jonathan and want to know more about what the song references can find it. I'm going to link to the articles, the news articles about the Jonathan Hearn Sabrina Limon trial in the description, and then I'll also link a video that has Jonathan Hearn's testimony, and I'll link that in the description. I can do more, provide the context or provide the backstory, provide an interesting little snippet with my other songs. That is a very interesting story, and I just wanted to share that. Thanks for listening.